And so the next thing I want to talk to you about is, well, how safe is it and how long do these eggs last, refrigerated or not? Because that's a question a lot of people don't know. So what's better, washing and refrigerating your eggs, which is what all commercial people do? A lot of other countries in the world don't quite do that. A lot of Europe, France, different places, they do it the way it used to be done here before we had refrigeration. The eggs were just stored. They're not washed. They're just kept. And keep them in an environment that's room temperature, whether it's in their house or in a cellar or a cool, dry place where the humidity is pretty constant. And they do not wash the eggs. They just store them just like this. And usually they store them naturally. If you ever notice this, the small end down. And there's a natural air pocket in the egg. And they say to store them that way. So old timers would put them in baskets or whatever and store them just like that. Some say they would put, dry straw or sawdust, something to keep it good and dry, and store them. Well, how long do they last? Well, they say refrigerated eggs, once they wash them.
Hold on a minute.
Oh,
what
yeah.
are you doing?
They're on the roof.
Oh my goodness, girl. She discovered that yesterday, so she loves to climb the roof. Back to chickens.
Back to the chickens. In order for you to wash your eggs, because some people are like, I'm not eating dirty eggs. Well, you don't have to eat the dirty egg. You still wash it before you cook it. The difference is you don't wash it as soon as you get it to store it. So if you wash your eggs to store them, you would refrigerate them. And so when you refrigerate them, commercial people will generally either coat them with an oil to kind of recreate the egg bloom to protect the egg. Some of them do that. So sometimes you might see real shiny eggs coming from the store, and that may be why that is. But the bottom line is 100 days. They are so loud. What are you doing up there?
A silly girl. Primrose.
You need to get down. So we had to move away from the chicken pen because the goats were wanting to climb on the roof. They follow us everywhere. So if we didn't have them out, they'd be screaming at us because we're out here doing and they're not getting to walk around. But where was I at? The air pocket, how they sit the eggs. But if you refrigerate your eggs, they say that the eggs can last, up to 100 days refrigerated. Well, what's the difference? What if I kept them at room temperature, didn't wash them, just kept them just like this? You wash them right before you use them. Well, they say that the eggs are good for 6 weeks. And that's probably on average, refrigerated or not. And they've actually done studies, apparently on, what's up, Colonel? They've done studies on...
Come here, Colonel.
Hey, Colonel.
Do you want some spotlight, huh? Is that what you want? Some spotlight? Or play with the goats?
Just going straight back. Hey, Colonel. So, the studies have been done, and it really shows no difference in the egg longevity, bacteria-wise, with them not being refrigerated versus refrigerated. So you can actually store your eggs in your house in a nice humidified room temperature environment. Eggs down like this, you can store them just like that. Now some say, I've heard or at least read of some saying that every few days you might want to rotate them. So that I haven't personally experienced because we normally don't keep ours quite that long. But if you think about it, if you don't prepare your chickens, once your chickens lay out, let's just say after about 78, 80 weeks, if you haven't prepared for new chickens to come up to be fresh layers, then your egg production is going to go down. If you have been storing up eggs, then you'll have about 6 weeks of eggs maybe stored up that you could use until your new chickens come along. if you prepare, you'll know after about 60 weeks, you're going to want to go ahead and order your fresh batch of hens, so that by the time 80 to 90 weeks comes about, your new hens are in the peak of egg laying at that time. And you know, they are wonderful farm animals. They, you know, produce obviously manure that we can use. It's hot manure, but we can use it in certain aspects. But they produce these wonderful eggs we love to eat, bake, cook with. They store well, they last a long time. You can sell them to those that want farm fresh eggs if you have too many. So a lot of wonderful things you can do with an egg. But it's just fascinating to me on how fast they can produce that little egg. And
it just shows you the great creator and how magnificent he is in creating these creatures.
Exactly.
All these creatures.
Exactly. It is an amazing thing to witness. And you know, as we go along, since our chickens are just now getting to that 20-week stage, we're going to start expecting to see more eggs. Now, as the days get shorter, they need an average of about 14 to 17 hours of sunlight to lay an egg, peak egg laying, and then about 10 hours of night time for them. And that's when it's peak. And so some people will put a light on them. In other words, once our days get shorter or our daylight gets shorter, they'll put a light on them for those extra few hours that they lose daylight to make sure they continue their egg production. Others like to allow their chickens to rest. In other words, once that time comes, it's about a 2-month process, 2-month period, their egg production goes, you know, almost non-existent. And so you might get a few, but likely not. So for us, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we do with our chickens, what we're going to do with our chickens. And for us, what we are going to do is we will let our chickens take that probably somewhat natural break. I don't think I necessarily want to put a light on them to keep them laying all the time. If our chickens make enough eggs, we'll store up enough for us to eat for that time frame that they're out. So I think it'll be better for them when they hit the next you know, several weeks after the downtime, that they'll be in max production for egg laying. But you can do it. Some people just feel it's not natural, and I understand that. But you can do it, and if you have to, if you're running out of eggs and you want your farm fresh eggs, you just put a light out there for an extra few hours, set on a timer to give them the daylight that they need to lay the egg, and then they get 10 hours. But I'm not sure if I left anything out, but on the magnificent thing about eggs, but each hen can produce you about 300 eggs a year. That's amazing to me. And so, although a lot of times people think they should give you 1 egg a day, that's really not true. They average about 300. So you might have some a little over, some a little under. But magnificent little creatures. And then of course, if you have a broody chicken and you want to raise some, and you have a rooster that's, you know, there is one more thing I wanted to tell you, because I've had this happen before with someone who got some farm fresh eggs and didn't know. And they cracked their eggs and they were like, oh, something's not right. There was either a blood spot in it, or they saw this big white spot in the yolk. The white spot represents fertilization. That just means the egg has been fertilized by the rooster. It has nothing to do with quality of the egg, bad or good. But some people, if they see that, they're like, oh, I've never seen that before, because most of the eggs I get don't have that. Or you might have a ruptured little blood vessel or a blood spot in the egg, and that is nothing to do with egg quality either. It just means sometime during the development, a little blood vessel ruptured in the development of that, and it caused a little red, you know, like starburst effect. If you see that, you know, don't be alarmed. That's fairly quite normal. But I had someone who had never had farm fresh eggs, and they were like, I didn't use 1 or 2 of those eggs because they had that pattern, or they saw the little white spot, thought it was a bad egg. So just always remember that. You know, it will be a little bit different if it's a fertilized egg versus non-fertilized. Taste is no different. The egg quality is no different. It just means during that 15-minute phase, it was in that infundibulum, it got fertilized. So, but we love our chickens. We just wanted to give you a little update on that. As our production picks up, we'll let you know how many eggs we're getting a day. We've just started getting an average of about 2 a day, so we're thanking the Lord for that and eating them up every day. All right, so if you liked what you learned today, if you love our videos or are more interested as we evolve around here on our farm, our little homestead, you can hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and as we learn, we'll share what we learn with you, and that's how we're doing it. You know, I didn't know this stuff about eggs till I started researching it, because I just want to know, because I don't know how many people say, ooh, that's a dirty egg. But if it is real dirty, I will tell you there's no harm in taking a dry cloth, clean dry cloth, and wiping the poop off of it. But if you do, just try to cook that egg first. If you've got good clean ones like this, they store better. Something that's really got poop on it from the chicken, wipe it off, set it to the side and say, the next time I cook eggs, I'm cooking that one first. Then you can wash it right before you cook it, and it's a done deal. God bless. And as Uncle Stumpy says, that's what my kids call him, a simple life is a much more enjoyable life.